How to connect to VNC using SSH. Create the tunnel. First thing to do is create the tunnel that routes packets from localhost at port 5901 to the remote host at port 5901 through port 22. This is done with a single command. SSH-L 5901 : localhost : 5901 space caps remote _ IP. Replace the remote IP address in remote _ IP for the command, where remote IP is the IP address of the remote host. If you've never SSH'd to this remote host, you will be asked if you want to add the remote host to your local ~/.ssh /known_hosts file. Type yes and hit enter on your keyboard. You will then be prompted for the user's remote password, the remote user's password. This will assume you have the same username on both local and remote machines. If you do not, you can always add the remote username like so. SSH space ~L space 5901 : localhost : 5901 space user at remote _ IP, where user is the remote username and remote _ IP is the remote IP address. Note, for an even more secure suggestion, I suggest you make use of SSH key authentication. See how to set up SSH key authentication. Connecting your VNC client. Now you need to fire up your VNC client. It won't matter what client you use. What does matter, however, is the address you use to make the connection. Instead of entering, say, 192.168.1.83 : 5901 for the remote address, enter localhost : 5901. Why? Because we've created an SSH tunnel from localhost : 5901 to remote _ IP : 5901, where remote _ IP is the IP address of the remote machine. Once you click Connect, your VNC client will use the encrypted SSH tunnel and make the connection between local and remote machines on port 5901. You should then be able to work on the remote desktop using VNC thanks to SSH. Not only is your VNC connection good to go, but it's also more secure than if you had simply used the default VNC port. Enjoy tunneling VNC through SSH.